you're certainly welcome to stay. Well, we've been looking forward to this day, at least I have, for a long time. We wanted to tackle this topic of culture and how we, as a church, how we as Christians ought to engage culture. And we started a class last week just to prime our hearts for this topic. And, you know, one of the things that we brought up was that we, as many of us being Asian American, we've always stood in tension with culture. Because we're part of being in America. Sometimes we feel like we're not part of America, we're Christian, but then we're in the world and not of it, and we're constantly here in this church, always standing in this tension of how do we wrestle with culture, our culture, the world. And so we wanted to tackle this topic head on. We started that class last week, and today we've invited a very special guest, Andy Crouch, to come and to give us a framework, a biblical framework for how we ought to engage culture. And hopefully it will be very beneficial for your everyday lives. I'm very excited to have him here again. We just want to welcome him in just a few seconds. There's a few things about him. He's here with his family. Catherine is his wife, and Tim is his son. Catherine herself is a very accomplished person, and I wanted to share a little bit more about her in days to come. There's an article that Andy had written that really highlights her life as a scientist. She's an accomplished scientist who is a professor at Swarthmore. They live in Swarthmore. And Andy himself, he was campus minister at Harvard. He, for those of you who graduated from Cornell, is also part of your alma mater. We have a huge Cornell contingent here. He's also an editor for Christianity Today. He has written a book called Culture Making. He is an authority on this topic of culture. And so I don't want to take away from his time. I want you guys to be fully attentive, and then after service, we will have a special class to wrestle with the practicality of this topic here in the sanctuary. Okay, so stick around, bring your questions as well, and be fully engaged. So if all of you can come along with me in welcoming Andy with a warm CCC&C welcome. Would you do that?
So, where are the Cornellians? That's the most important question. We have at least one in the house?
Oh, more than that.
All right, now I really do feel it. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, LT, for the welcome. Thank you to Calvin and to Enid and the team for leading us in worship, orienting us, reorienting us to the goodness of God. It's great to be with you. Well, LT, you said did you say I'm an authority on culture? That's impossible. It's much too big. And I can tell you that whatever kind of authority I may have become, I sure wasn't, and became aware that I wasn't around 5 years into my campus ministry at Harvard University. I spent 10 years working with the Harvard Radcliffe Christian Fellowship. And about 5 years into this, I realized that I did not have an answer to one of the most basic questions you could ask as a campus minister or just as a human being at Harvard, which was, why are my students here? Why are we all here? Now, in one sense, this was a very easy question to answer, because Harvard is sort of unique. Harvard undergrads, in particular, are unique in that when you ask them, why are you at Harvard, they all give the same answer. Now, I suspect that if you ask those of us who went to Cornell, why did you go to Cornell, you'd get some very interesting, different answers about why we went. Same with Penn, same with Temple. However, at Harvard, there's really only one thing you hear from a Harvard freshman or sophomore when you ask, why are you here? They look at you with this kind of glazed, dazed expression and they say, because I got in. Harvard needs no further justification. You don't choose Harvard. Harvard chooses you, you know? And once Harvard has chosen you, well, of course, that's why I'm here, because I got in. But I feel like that cannot be enough of an answer. We can't possibly just say, why am I here? Well, because someone let me in. And really, of course, the question I was asking was, as a follower of Christ, why do I believe someone would be called to spend 4 years as a student here? Or 10 years as a graduate student here? Or 40 years as a professor or staff member or administrator here? And I began to believe that I did not have any biblical or theological resources to answer maybe the most important question we could ask, which is, why are we here? Not actually, why are we here in church? Or why were my students with me on Friday night at our campus fellowship meeting? I knew why we were gathered for worship, why we gathered for prayer, for Bible study, for discipleship. But why were we in the lab? Why were we in the library? Why were we rowing on the Charles at 5:30 a.m. in the morning when people probably do ask, why am I here? So to make this more concrete, I'd like you to think about where you're going to be exactly 24 hours from now, at 10:12 on Monday. God willing, none of us know for sure, but you can kind of reasonably guess. And would you just turn to one neighbor and tell them where you think you will be tomorrow at 10:12 a.m. And if it's in bed, just be honest. Just go ahead, quickly share this with me. Where will you be tomorrow? All right, make sure you're here for both people quickly. And just so I can get a sense of the range of answers in the room, could a few people volunteer where you will be, just loud enough so we can all hear. Where will you be tomorrow at 10:12?
Third period.
Third period? Of what school or class? Or?
Of Cherry Hill West.
Cherry Hill West, and what happens third period? English, did you say? All right, you're going to be saying English. All right, very good. Someone else. And let's try to get some different answers here. Where will somebody else be at 10, 12?
YMCA.
At the YMCA. All right, do you work there? You'll be working out?
My son's swimming lesson.
For your sons? Okay, so learning to swim. Helping your son learn to swim at the YMCA. Awesome. What else? A couple more.
Kitchen table.
At the kitchen table.
Organizing my week.
Or planning, organizing, figuring out what do I have to get done today, what do maybe the rest of my family have to do, what are we going to have to eat, all that planning that goes into life, just the ordinary day-to-day sort of organizing and planning. Great. Maybe 2 more answers. Somebody said work. And where will you be working? At the Environmental Protection Agency? So working at the EPA. What's, well, that's enough. And one more. Yeah.
I'll be performing at Solace Cohen Elementary School. Chinese lion dancing.
Sorry, Chinese?
Lion dancing.
You'll be performing at Chinese lion dance at an elementary school. Fantastic. So, we all know where we are now, and I think we all get a lot